Hello everyone, welcome to Come Sit at My Table. We're Tom and Melissa, and we just want to be one of the first to say to you, Happy New Year's Eve. We are making a snack or an appetizer that we will enjoy for New Year's Eve. Melissa and I don't have plans to go out and no one's coming here. It will just be the two of us for New Year's Eve. And this is something that we really enjoy. I actually got this recipe 20 years ago, and it's an old, maybe I shouldn't say old, but it's a Pampered Chef recipe that I got 20 years ago or more when I ordered a Pampered Chef stone. And we have used it numerous times. We really like this recipe. In fact, when our girls were growing up, this was something they often asked for when we were just fixing snacks to have for a movie or, something that we were doing game night at home. So it's something that we've enjoyed a lot, and I think you would love it. Let's talk about what we're going to need to make Cranberry-Almond Bake. We're going to start with dried cranberries, which makes sense since the name of this dish is Cranberry-Almond Bake. Now, these are craisins. They're just dried cranberries, and we're only going to use 1/4 of a cup, not much, but they are kind of diced up, chopped up, and you don't even really have to do that. You can use them whole if you want to. I just always dice them up just so they're smaller pieces. The second thing we're going to use is some almonds, Cranberry-Almond Bake, and you will want to either use like slivered almonds, or you'll want to crunch up your almonds some way. I just used a nut grinder that I have and chop those up. They're fairly fine. There are some chunks in there, so you will taste it. But almonds work really well. You can use other kinds of nuts. Walnuts work well. Pecans are actually my favorite, but I feel like I use pecans in every dish that needs nuts in it because they are my favorite nut. And this original recipe did call for almonds, so I decided just to use that tonight. But we've used lots of different kinds of nuts in this, and it always works well. The third ingredient that you're going to use is some preserves. Now, we're using apricot preserves, and that's what we normally do use. And it's wonderful in this. But I'm going to tell you that equally as good is strawberry preserves. And we have used pineapple. That's really good in this. What else have we used, Melissa? Strawberry, pineapple. I can't think. I think any kind of preserves that you like will work fine in this. One thing we have never tried, and I have said over and over, now the next time I make this, I'm going to try hot pepper. I think hot pepper jam or hot pepper preserves would be really good in this dish, but I've never tried it. If you try it and you like it or don't like it, let us know that, because I really would like to try that sometime.
You mentioned jam. Can you use jam instead of preserves?
You can use jam instead of preserves, but I would not use jelly. Jelly is made with the fruit juice. There's no fruit in it. And I think when you bake this, the jelly's probably going to liquefy and just kind of run off. Where if you use jam or preserves, there are some pieces of fruit in there, and I think it will hold onto your dish better. Now, jelly is made with fruit juice. Jam is made with mashed up fruit. There is fruit in there. The pulp of the fruit is in there, but it's mashed. Preserves are made with larger chunks of fruit. Or if you've got hot pepper, it's larger pieces of pepper. It's not always fruit.
So it's going to be thicker.
It's going to be thicker. It's going to stay on the cream cheese better in your dish. So I probably would not use jelly, but jam or preserves I think will work fine. We've used all kinds of preserves. I know that works. The next thing we're going to use is some Dijon mustard. Oh, by the way, I think I forgot to say we're using 2 tablespoons of preserves. Just 2 tablespoons. We're using 1 teaspoon of Dijon mustard. Not much, because you don't want to overpower it.
Does it have to be Dijon?
Yeah, you really do want that flavor in it. Was in a pinch one time, didn't have Dijon. I used regular yellow mustard. It just did not have the same flavor. So I would suggest Dijon if you have it. If you're out of Dijon, you don't have it, I certainly wouldn't go buy a bottle of Dijon mustard to use 1 teaspoon in this. So you can use regular mustard. It's going to change the flavor just a little bit, but it will work. But if you have Dijon, use that. The next thing we're going to use is crescent dough sheets. Now, I will tell you that for probably the first 10 years that I made this, maybe longer than that, there were no such things as crescent roll dough sheets. You just had crescent rolls, the perforated in the triangle. And that's what we used. But this is a little bit easier because you don't have to push those perforations together. If you can't find crescent dough sheets and you have to use the crescent rolls that are perforated in triangles, just break it in half, go down the middle. There's already a perforation right in the middle. Take those apart into 2 halves because you're going to need 2 pieces. And in each half, push those perforations together so that there's no seams there. You want it solid because we're going to do one of those on the bottom and the other one goes on top, and you don't want seams there because you don't want it leaking. If you can get crescent dough sheets, then all you have to do is open this up and cut it in half, and there's no perforations to push together. All right, the next thing we're going to use is an 8-ounce block of cream cheese. You do not have to have it at room temperature, but if it is, that's okay. We are going to take it out of the package, and we're going to use our hands to form it into kind of a disc. We'll form it into a ball and then kind of flatten it slightly so that we can put our other things on top of it before we cover it with the second half of our crescent dough. And the last thing you need is an egg. We're going to beat an egg and brush on top of the dough just to help it brown and get that golden, crusty color on top of it. Okay, I am going to use some Pam to spray my baking sheet. So I'm going to go ahead and do that and get that over with. And I'll get rid of that. Get that out of our way. The first thing I'm going to do is make our preserve and Dijon mustard dressing to go on it. So I'm going to put my cranberries and my almonds in a bowl. Then I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of our preserves. There's 1. And there's 2. There we go. That's out. All right. Move that out of the way. Now we're going to add 1 teaspoon of Dijon mustard. Normally, I would just squirt it in there. But because we're doing the video, I want you to see that we're using 1 teaspoon. So,
in other words, it doesn't have to be super
no,
exact.
it doesn't. Just squirt some in there. Just put a little bit in. Don't go wild because you don't want this to taste just like mustard. But, don't fret over it, really. And we're going to stir that up together. So, one thing I meant to tell you about the preserves. I have heated those before, just kind of makes them mix in a little better. But when you do that, it also kind of makes them run off the cream cheese when you put it on top. So if you want to heat it for just a few seconds to make it mix in better, you can. But honestly, it's just preserves, and if it's at room temperature, it's going to mix up pretty easily.
This is a brand new jar, but if you had some in the refrigerator that was cold, that might be a little different.
It would be a little different, but honestly, how hard is it to mix up preserves? They mix up pretty easily. But if you're concerned about that, just heat it in the microwave for, 5, 6, 7 seconds, just to warm it up enough. Now you can see that everything's covered in that mustard and preserves, but this is thick. This is not going to run off anything. Can you see how thick that is? Mm-hmm. All right, so we have all that mixed up. We're just going to set that to the side until we're ready for it. Get rid of the mustard. Now, let's do our crescent roll dough. Crescent sheet. So we'll just open that up. Now, you do need to make sure your hands are good and clean because you don't have a choice but to use your hands for this. If I can find that seam. There it is. So we're just going to open this up, take it out, and we're going to open it completely up. Again, if I can find that seam. There it is. Okay. And one thing I will try to do is get it into as much of a rectangle as I possibly can, because we do want to cut it in half, and one half is going to lay on top of the other half. So
they get misshapen very easily, don't they?
yeah, well, it's dough, so you know it kind of does that. So just use your hands, kind of flatten it out. Now all I'm going to do is take a pizza cutter. You can use a knife, and I'm just going to kind of cut it in half. Now with one half, well, with both halves really, I'm just going to kind of round the corners a little bit. See how I cut that corner off? And I'm going to do that with all of them, just so kind of works better. I'm going to roll this one back up for a minute, move it out of the way, and we'll put this one here in the middle. Stretch that out just a little bit. Okay, now I'm going to round these corners just a hair. All right, now we'll do that again with the other one in just a minute, but we're going to get our cream cheese ready first. All right, I can't quit playing with the dough. All right, now we're going to take our block of cream cheese, and I warned you, you have to use your hands to do this. So make sure you've washed them well. I promise I did. Right before we started, I scrubbed them. So this is where you get to play with your food. I'm going to pull my sleeves up just a little bit. You're going to take that cream cheese and just form it into a ball. Now, who doesn't like to play with their food? And then after you get it formed into a ball, you're just going to kind of flatten it a little bit. It's going to crack around the edges. That's okay. Just push it back together. But we just want that kind of flat on top so that we can put it right here in the middle and lay all of our stuff on top of it that we mix together in our bowl. Now, obviously, I'm going to have to go wash my hands. So I'll be right back. By the way, I have preheated our oven to 350 degrees. So it is ready for this. Now, we're going to take our bowl of craisins and almonds, mustard, and preserves. We're just going to put that right on top of it. Some of it might fall off. That's okay. It's not going to hurt anything. You can leave it down there. You can just pick it up and put it right back up on top. It's not going to matter. I am going to clean that off because I want all of it on there. This is a very simple, easy recipe, but I'm going to tell you, it looks like you slaved away in the kitchen for hours. So it's really impressive. Now, we're going to take the second half of the dough, and I may not even need to round the corners of this one. We're going to open it up and lay right on top. It's much easier if it's really good and cold, and this has kind of come to room temperature because I had it out waiting to start. So we're just going to lay it right on there, unroll it, Stretch it right over the top of it. And just make sure it's covered well. Now, this needs to be stretched just a little more to make sure it's all covered. Okay, there we go. Now these corners probably should be rounded a little bit. So I'm just going to take these off a little bit. Get rid of the big corner. And then we're just going to make sure that the top dough is right on top of the bottom dough along the edge. And we're going to roll those up. I'm going to show you how I'm doing it. I'm just rolling it as I go along. And you can kind of stretch it if you need to. Just kind of be careful. Just make sure it's sealed because you don't want anything that's inside leaking out. Melissa, if my arm gets in the way, just tell me. Okay. So I'm just rolling it up, making sure that it's sealed all the way around.
There you go.
That helped, didn't it?
That was good. Good idea.
Okay. Now, everything's rolled up, pretty well sealed. And now I'm going to take a knife, if I can find one in here, and I'm just going to cut a couple of little slits in the top, just kind of, I guess, to let the air out so it doesn't puff up too bad. So, steam. Yeah, let the steam out. That's all you have to do. Just cut a couple of little slits in there. Okay. Now, the last thing we need to do is brush the top with egg white. Or with egg. Not just the white. We're going to use the whole egg. So, let's get our egg in the bowl. Beat that up. And we do want it to be pretty well beaten up. You don't want big streams of egg white or big chunk of egg yolk going on. So make sure it's beaten up pretty well. Just a little bit more. Okay. Now I'm just going to take my pastry brush. Oh, I see a piece of eggshell. My goodness, Tom. Okay. Now, if you don't have a pastry brush, you know what you can do? You can use your fingertips. Works just as well. But if you have a pastry brush, this is an easy way to do it. And you do want to brush the whole thing with egg all the way out to that edge.
That's going to make it golden brown.
It's going to make it really pretty. Now I can already hear somebody say, well, how many is this going to feed? Our family of 4 and hardly ever finished it. So I'm going to say you could probably feed, what, Melissa, 6 at least? I'm going to say at least 6. Let me get the sides over here.
But, you know, once you got your stuff out, it would be easy to make, too.
Oh, yeah, and we have done that.
We have a lot of people.
Yeah, when we've had company, we were doing it for like an appetizer or for people just to snack on while we were waiting for everyone to show up or for the meal to be ready. Yeah, we've made 2, 3. We've always made several when we were doing it for company. Okay, there we have our egg. Now, you do not want this standing in egg because you don't want scrambled eggs on it. So there we go. After you've brushed the egg, you may want to just push it back together a little bit. You don't want it huge around it. You want to hold that cream cheese and those toppings in. Okay, so, sorry, I bumped you. So we're going into the oven at 350. You need to have that preheated for about 30 to 35 minutes. And when it's finished, we will come back and let you see what it looks like when it comes out of the oven. We'll be back soon. Our cranberry almond bake is just about ready to come out of the oven. It has been in for 30 minutes and it looks nice and brown to me. So let's see what we think. If we think it needs it, we could put it back in for another 5. Turn the timer off, that would help. Okay. And there it is. Looks really nice. Now, it is not ready to cut. It must rest a minimum of 15 minutes. It won't hurt it to rest a little longer than that. It's still going to stay warm in there. But if you cut it before 15 minutes, it's just all going to kind of run out. So we're going to let it rest. In fact, I'm just going to go ahead and do this. Let me grab this plate. I'm going to take it off of this stone and move it to a plate so it will start to cool down a little bit faster. And we'll wait at least 15 minutes before we come back and cut it. Doesn't that look really nice?
It does look nice. It smells good too.
Yep. Okay, we'll be back as soon as it's ready to cut. Our Cranberry-Almond Bake has rested for probably 20 to 30 minutes because we got busy doing other things, but it is plenty warm enough and still ready to cut. One thing I forgot to mention at the beginning of this video is that you are going to need crackers to serve this with because you'll put it on crackers to eat it. Now, I've put some club crackers on the plate here with ours, but you can use a variety of crackers, any cracker that you want. You may even want to put several different types of crackers out on the plate if you're serving this for company. All right.
Even with the bread, do you think it needs crackers?
I do. That's how we've always eaten it. So if you don't want crackers, don't have crackers. All right. So I'm just going to cut through it. Cut a little wedge out. Scoop that out. I'm going to put a couple crackers over here. Yum. Look at that. Doesn't that look delicious? And that's out of the way.
Well, it's really nice. And it's set up well so it's not running out.
Yeah, that's why you want to let it kind of rest for a few minutes. If you let it rest, it will kind of hold together better. And it's still soft, let me tell you. I'll just take this knife. You can see that this is still soft and gooey and delicious. I forgot to give you a bite.
I'll take a bite in a minute. That's okay.
Here. Oh, that is so good. The cranberries and the preserves give it a really good flavor.
That is good.
The nuts give it a little bit of a crunch. So that just adds another element to it. The crescent dough is really nice and crunchy. The cream cheese is soft and gooey. It's a really nice appetizer. When this baked, the crescent rolls did kind of unroll a little bit. So when you roll that up around it, you might want to roll it kind of tight so that if it does unroll a little, you won't have too much of an edge around it. Just roll it right up there to the edge of your cream cheese if you'd like. All right, thank you so much for watching. We would appreciate it if you'd go right below this video and give us a thumbs up. That just says you liked our video. The more people that click that, the more times YouTube will share our video. If you've not already, we would appreciate you going right below the video on the right side and clicking that subscribe button and the little notification bell beside of it and the word all. That just joins you to our channel. It's totally free, but that way you will get all of our videos when we post them. You'll be notified every time, and that way you'll never miss one. Also, right below our video, there's a little share button. If you click it, you can share it to your own social media so your own family and friends can see it. Remember that right below the video, you'll see the title of this recipe. It'll say Cranberry-Almond Bake. If you click in that box will expand. Melissa always puts the written recipe there for you, so it's already written down. You don't have to worry about doing that. And at the bottom of that box, under the recipe, is our contact information. Thank you for the kind comments. We always appreciate those, and we enjoy reading the nice things that you say. So feel free to leave us a comment. We love those. Again, we do appreciate you watching our videos, and we want you to remember that you are always welcome to come sit at my table. Have a great day, and Happy New Year.